I want to take a minute and go over our mission statement and core values. I felt this is pretty important, and I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from just staying on top of this. So our mission statement here at RE/MAX Select Group is to change lives and build communities by empowering you, the agents, and your clients to make sound real estate decisions. This has never been more important than now. Whether it's securing listings, pricing them correctly, maximizing the value for your sellers. When you take a listing, and I'm working on several of these with some of your peers, you may or may not be on this mastermind, but terms matter more than ever. I can't tell you how many times this week, or actually I'll say the past 2 weeks, I've consulted with our team members, your peers, about deals that are going down or deals that are being challenged, because the last one working on this morning, contract 550, okay, new construction, kind of high end of the market, Woodbridge Township, appraised at 500. Seller was putting down, I think, 20% and only agreed to pay 10,000 more than the appraised value. So I'm seeing these constantly, and in order to be of the highest value to our clients, we need to make sure that we anticipate and structure transactions appropriately. So we're going to change lives, build communities by empowering you, the agents, and your clients to make sound real estate decisions, and that is more important than ever. Core values: integrity, be open and transparent, and have the courage to do the right thing while always respecting others. Passion, love what you do it with purpose, do it with hustle. Leadership, we're going to lead by example and accept personal responsibility. We are going to be a caring culture. We embrace a culture of pride and dignity in what we do. One of my new favorites, accountability. I'm going to put there, stop blaming others and own the results.
That's not your new favorite. You've always loved that one.
Well, my favorite's kind of always been leverage or abundance, but that one there is trending upward in my list here. Abundance, recognize the unlimited possibilities. Innovation, evolve, embrace, and be an industry catalyst for change. This one's important too, because we need to evolve in order to satisfy the needs of buyers and sellers in this transitioning market, this improving market with low inventory. And then leverage, maximize results, and build a business that serves agents and clients by using the talents of others to better serve and enjoy work-life balance. I know many of you struggle with that, as I think most of us do, that work-life balance piece. So good morning, everybody. We're up to 62. All right. So one thing that I want to also put out here is, I was speaking to somebody who has 20 active buyers and struggling to keep them together, like put deals together. And if you have a pipeline of active buyers and you're unable to pull those together, I would like you to talk to your manager and then have your manager filter it through to me, because I really want to create experiences where I can help you solve problems and get people in houses. So if I had everybody contact me directly, I probably wouldn't have enough time. But if you could just go through your manager and say, hey, could Rob help me with, 2 or 3 buyers? I want to test my hypothesis and see if I could help out the group and keep the managers in the loop so that we can share that philosophy. Okay. So that's something that the first 66 people on this call are hearing about. If you have buyers that you're having I'm going to say if you have serious buyers that are motivated, that are having a hard time getting contracts put together and getting into a house, talk to your manager, and I want to help solve that problem. It's not imposing. I want to help you solve that issue. All right. So now I'm going to go to today's topic, which is the listing habit. What is a habit? Somebody unmute yourself. What's a habit?
It is something you do and redo until you do it reflexively.
Right. It's like a subconscious thing, right, Scott? Like if you get in the habit of waking up at 6 in the morning instead of 10, you don't even think about it, right?
Right.
It's almost like I wouldn't call breathing a habit, but it's a good analogy. Like you don't have to think about breathing. When you have a habit, it's something that you just do naturally because it's a habit. You just go to my sheet here for a sec. And who would like to get in the habit of taking listings? You can raise your hand if you're there.
Aye.
I
Okay.
would.
And if you think of it as a habit, doesn't that feel good, right? Hey, I get in the habit of taking 3 or 4 listings a month. Don't have to struggle about it. It just comes naturally, just like getting up early. And Mr. Gleason, there are also bad habits, right? I mean, there's probably more bad habits than
Totally.
good habits. So we need to be careful about how this influences how we behave. My quote of the day is if you believe in what you do and you can really help people, then you have a moral obligation to try to help and bring it to as many people as possible. If you believe in what you do and you can really help people, then you have a moral obligation to try to bring it to as many people as possible. Who buys into that? Does anybody buy into that with me? It's not just
I'm with that.
it's not just about money, right? Because right now in this very overheated market, okay, some people were saying, and Julio, you were at the mastermind, the special Tuesday or Wednesday mastermind. Why do sellers need us, right? They can just put a sign in the ground and sell it. Well, that's not really true. And if they want to maximize the value and have an experience that maximizes the value of that transaction, I think they need us more than ever, right? Because if you're out in the and this is one, Julio, that I forgot to mention in our meeting, but if you're out at a seller's house and they say I can put a sign in the ground to get it sold, how many of these properties, if you're really getting a good price, are not going to appraise? Is there are we seeing at least a fair amount of those, and are we not putting into our contracts? And if you're not, this is something that you should get in the habit of doing while the market's like this, saying, hey, we're selling the house for $550. You're putting down 50%. All it has to do is appraise for 470 and you're still going forward with it, right? And Scott Gleason, we did this years ago, right?
We did in a multiple offer situation.
Right. And that got, somebody was putting down, everybody wanted to get the property. They were all bragging, I'm putting down 50%. And, Scott, back, it must have been 5 or 6 years ago, he was masterful in the way that he lined up all the buyers and he pitted them against themselves. And back in the day, the agents actually were waiting in the reception area to come in and present the offer. So we have to get back to that. Okay. We can't just say, hey, it has to appraise for, 550, if you're putting down 40%, maybe we just say, hey, it needs to appraise for 475 if you want us to accept that offer, or maybe 500. An ounce of prevention is worth a ton of cure.
Rob, can you address the lenders on that? Some of the lenders are not allowing it to move forward unless the property appraises for what the sales price is.
So those are probably lenders that
Bank of America.
I am unaware, Deb, of Bank of America not allowing a buyer to say, I'm aware that the property is 510. I'm only borrowing 300. I want to move forward at a 550 purchase. I've not seen that personally. But again, if you're having a particular challenge with buyers, filter it through your manager. If you have a listing that you're representing, contact me directly. I'll help you. Okay. I'm just afraid with the buyer thing that I'm going to have 77 people saying, help me. And I won't have a minute to rest. So, some people are saying appraisal waivers. look at, I mean, an appraisal waiver is great. I think that was Anthony, but if they aren't putting enough money down, they can't close. So it doesn't really make a difference. We need to be very deliberate in the way that we review our offers. Does that make sense? So, if you are committed to excellence and you're doing a unrepeatable job, you're providing a tremendous value. You owe it. You have an obligation to take it to as many people as possible. Now, the listing habit, successful listing agents have the mindset, expertise, technical and communication skills, habits, and systems to produce consistent and sustainable results that build the business that serves them as a business owner, and I have in parentheses, not an employee, while delivering an irresistible and irreplaceable value to homeowners. That's a mouthful. Successful listing agents have the mindset. We've talked about mindset a lot. Expertise, right? We need to know the product. We can't fake it on, the inventory. Sellers will know that we don't know what we're talking about. Technical and communication skills. Now, we don't need to be computer programmers, okay? The best analogy I want to put forth for technical skills is the automobile, okay? I don't know how the combustion engine works, but I do know if I have a key and I put gas in the tank, it will take me where I want to go. So that's how I view technology, is we use it to serve us, not to be a mountain that makes us feel like that we're inadequate on technology. Okay. Communication skills. I mean, I think communication skills probably trumps everything else, because if you can't communicate the message, everything else doesn't really matter, right? Yes.
If your messaging is off, you can't do anything.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we've all had this feeling that I am the perfect person to help this client or this home seller. And stay with me here for a minute. Have you ever felt like you can totally knock it out of the park and help this person, and yet they didn't choose you to represent them, to serve them? If that's happened to you, raise your hand. It's not a stick up, but I'm raising my hands because it hurts when that happens. And you when you learn from that, you need to transition, and you need to figure out what went wrong. And it's usually in the communication and the messaging. And we have technical communication skills. Then we want to have habits and systems. I put them together, right? Because a habit is something that we don't really think about, right? That we're going to be doing naturally. Like if you want to feed your family, you need to get work, right? Let's make that a habit, right? If you want to build and have an abundant life and put money away for retirement, you need to have a habit and a system, right? Because it needs to be more consistent. And then, I see everybody here, maybe except for our home warranty guy, is earning based upon their productivity. Okay. So you guys are business owners. Okay. I'm your business coach. We're business owners, and we need to build a better business that serves us, right? Because sometimes, the only way that we can do better is by working harder or longer, and that's not really serving us.
No.
Okay. So we need to build a business that's scalable and that serves us as business owners instead of us as real estate agents. So I don't want to get cultish here, but instead of, if you're on mute, say, I'm a business owner, not a salesperson, because you're running a business. And, as a business owner, a business needs to provide a financial return to us. We're not beholden to the business. Like, we're not a slave to the business. The business has to serve us. The business has to provide us value. We're not an employee. If you could be an employee, you might get health care, you'll get a regular paycheck, but you're very limited. You guys are business. You men and women, you're business owners. And as a business owner, we need to deliver irresistible and irreplaceable value. And in most of your local markets, we should be the most irresistible an irreplaceable opportunity for any seller. And if we're not the most irresistible and irreplaceable, what do you think we need to do? Anthony, what do we need to do if we're not the most?
We need to scale our portfolio up so that we are the person that brings the best value to that potential customer.
We need to up our game. You nailed it. So if you have the best value, why shouldn't everybody want to hire us, right? And on our bonus mastermind down in Parkland on Wednesday, we were talking about, and it was a piggyback off of the last week's meeting. You know, if you're not confident that you're going to get a listing and you walk into somebody's house, I call it unanimous. Because if you don't believe you're going to get it, you certainly aren't going to convince somebody else, are you? Julio, can you convince somebody else if you don't believe it?
Never.
Never, right? And you're a pretty good salesman. You're a sales manager. You're a very influential person. But if you don't believe it, it's going to be rare, Julio, that you can convince somebody to buy into it.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
Bob, I'd like to just add to that. The same psychology applies to commissions, because I was in my office yesterday and there was another agent who said, you know, it's so hard to try to get more. And I said, if you cut your finger off before you even enter the door, then you're not doing yourself a bit of good, because you're in business for yourself. And in order to be in business for yourself, you have to be profitable. So it applies to commissions as well, as what you're talking about.
I mean, you see how everything is interrelated here, Anthony? I mean, you know, what I'm talking about in terms of trying to provide value to you is just transferred from you to the client. It's so linear. It's the same. There's no difference. Successful listing agents have a moral obligation to bring their services to as many homeowners as possible, right? Because, and if you don't think that you're the irresistible and irreplaceable value, then become that value, okay? Go back and up your game. But when you are that value, then you owe it to your community, to your marketplace to do and communicate and produce as much as possible. Because when you sell houses for more, okay, you influence the whole you influence the value of that whole community. You know, Glenn Baker, you do a lot in one community in Boonton. You are probably increasing the value of the entire community of Boonton because you're doing a great job.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I mean, your sales influence the price that somebody pays for another house, correct?
Yeah, I use that as a part of my sales shtick, right? Because I'm impacting the very home price of the town that I live in, right? So I have a vested interest.
Yep. So are we starting to catch on that it's bigger than us, right? It's about them. And when you put them in front of us, you know, we wind up benefiting.
Yeah.
But it's a causality thing. Like if you put yourself first, it's hard to deliver the value when all you're considering about is, you know, when can that commission check hit your bank account? Okay.
Rob, if I could just add something. So when I do a lot of self-talk, and when I go to a listing appointment, I literally sit in my car, my phone on silent mode. And for 5 minutes before I go in there, I say to myself, I'm preventing them from their next mistake. I literally convince myself that that's my mission, that I'm preventing them from their next mistake, which is the agent that's not going to do the things I want to do.
I love that. Can I put that into the show notes?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So that's part of that moral obligation. You have a moral obligation to prevent them from their next mistake. Because I don't know if you take a step back and you look at the macro numbers, and first of all, you want to never talk poorly about competition. You can speak objectively and let the consumer decide that you're the better interest. And in Glenn's case, you know, he might say, hey, you know, the number 2 and number 3 person in this market where you scratch the name out, they sell homes for 97.2% and 99%, and I sell them for 104 and an average of 13 days quicker. These are numbers. These are not I'm not putting them down. I'm just putting out facts, right? And I hope you do it like that, Glenn. Is that how you present it? You're on mute, Glenn.
This time I don't even bring up the competition that way. If they bring something up, I'll just tell them what we do as a team. And I always generalize, like north of Route 78, that type of stuff.
Right, but you do know, you give me a thumbs up if you know those numbers stone cold, don't you? Uh-oh. I think everybody froze. Andy, can you hear me? Hello. All right, I froze for a second, huh? Hello?
We
Yeah,
can
we can
hear
hear
you.
All right. I could every single person stopped moving all at once. It was very odd. So I'm going to read, and this is, I believe, the definition from the dictionary of what a habit is. A habit is a behavior pattern acquired by frequent repetition or physiologic exposure that shows itself in regularity or increased facility or performance. That's a mouthful, right? A pattern is a behavior acquired by frequent repetition of physiological exposure that shows itself in regularity or increased facility or performance. Or, this is the second definition, a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. A settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. Who wants to find it hard to give up taking lots of listings? Right? Isn't that a good definition of what the listing habit should be? And a little insight. Next week we have the listing attraction strategy. Okay, so don't miss next Fridays. Do you have a prospecting habit? Do you have a listing mindset? Do you have a moral motivation to help as many sellers as possible? And if you don't, maybe now you can start to develop that drive to help people instead of to put money into your bank account. And it will put more money in your bank account at the end of the day. Successful listing agents get results and don't blame others or rely upon, and this is really important, successful listing agents don't rely upon the market. They don't rely upon their sphere or past clients calling them, because if you rely on that, you know, if you have 4 past clients that are selling, you might have a good month or a good quarter. And if they're not, are you going to then sacrifice that quarter? I don't think so. Successful listing agents don't rely on Zillow mailings or door knocking. And I don't want to be hypocritical to what we practice, but you're not relying on all of those individual activities. You know what your outcome is going to be because you have a habit of getting the business. Okay. And I'm going to give you all these notes in the recording. Now, let's only focus on how do you get more listings and start building this repeatable and scalable listing attraction process for, okay. And these are some of the different ways that we can, you know, build into our listing habit. Okay. Organic referrals. What's an organic referral?
It's someone that's in your network. It's a natural referral.
Right. So when I was doing the, I tried to get Julio's group to give me 100 objections, but they came short, didn't they, Julio?
Yeah, they did. It must have been shy that day.
Yeah. But if somebody was pressing me, and I think that we all, let me see, I'm trying to see who's on here. I think you guys are all in this boat. Would you feel comfortable saying to a seller, look, you know, if all I did was sell your house, you know, for the right price, okay, and you said, hey, good job, I would feel like I did a disservice because I want you to say that this was exceptional service, that you would recommend me to the next 5 people you hear the word real estate come out of their mouth. If I didn't accomplish that, you would get your home sold. I would get a commission check, but I would personally feel disappointed. Who can honestly say that? Let's, if all you got was a commission check, but you don't feel like you created a raving fan, is that a missed opportunity?
Yes.
Right? And somebody who is a uber satisfied customer who's going to refer you to their friends and family. I want to do a math problem here, okay? I'm looking at the group here. Who's good at math? Lillian, you're good at math, right? If you get a past customer that refers you a client, what's the referral fee on that?
No referral fee.
0. So
Yes,
who
all
would,
for me.
who would like to make more money from people that already know and trust you, right? So what's better than to state that at the onset and say, Lillian, if all I do is sell your house, I would be personally disappointed. I want to make sure that I exceed your expectation. And the next time you hear somebody mentioning that they're thinking of buying or selling, that you feel obligated to pass my name along. Is that fair? Now,
Yes.
if they understand that that's our motivation, do you think it's a little bit easier to close a listing?
Yes.
I think so, because you're not even, you're providing this value to them that's far above just that initial transaction.
Is there anybody on this meeting that's not their motivation? Like to do a really great job and get referral business? Is there anybody that just wants to make a commission check, and if it's an ugly transaction, move on, but just say, hey, I got paid? Anybody, please unmute yourself. I promise you I won't ostracize you, and you can even do your voice like, no. Anybody? There is nobody. So do you think that sellers look at us as just saying that, hey, Dennis just wants to make a $12,000 commission check for me? Dennis, do you think that happens?
No, I want the referrals from my people, and I ask them for them.
But you think a typical seller is just thinking that, this real estate agent's coming here just to make $11,000, right?
Yes,
Yes.
I think many do.
Okay.
Many do. They don't understand everything.
So they're thinking, and I think that was Sarah that mentioned, they're thinking that you're coming out there just to try to extract $11,000 from them by selling their house, and that you're going to convince them that you do a good enough job to earn the $11,000, but you're not going above and beyond, right? Now, if you go above and beyond and you get 5 referrals with no referral fee, no marketing dollars, is that going to increase your listing habit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that good? Is that a fair conversation to have at the onset?
I personally love it. I think it's a great selling point. Even if you weren't going to get referrals, it just shows them how committed you are to going beyond that commission check.
And Sarah, if I came to your house and said, look, Sarah, if all I did was sell your house and get a commission and do a good job, honestly, maybe I just want to withdraw from this because I really care about you and I want to make sure that I do an extraordinary job and earn more of your business. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would instantly trust and like you more.
And could you say that with full sincerity when you go out there?
Yes, absolutely. Because I'm that type of agent anyway, so I'm going to go above and beyond regardless. So,
I mean, and a lot of agents give lip service that they're going to go above and beyond, but I don't think this group is giving lip service. And when you realize the consequence, this impacts you on your listing habit, you can't stop doing it. I mean, and it's the best thing for everybody. It's fantastic for a seller, right, to over deliver. You're going to get referrals. You're going to use that if you're in competition to get a listing and say, hey, if all I do is list your house and then we never talk again, I'd consider this to be a bad relationship because I want to make sure that I build value beyond just getting your home sold for the right price. Okay. So, wow, did I go down a tangent on prospecting your past clients in Sphere? But I think that this whole concept is inseparable from the listing conversation. or what you used to call the listing presentation, right? The listing pitch. Okay. When it's a conversation about what value you're going to deliver, it changes the game. To get a good listing habit. Now, with that dialogue, Sarah, if you are able to unmute yourself, do you think that you earn the right to ask for a Zillow review when you've done that?
Yes.
Right? And I think that they probably wouldn't mind doing it if you really did what you said you're going to do. Taking the same concept, when we were having the meeting in Parkland with Julio, we were talking about like this hierarchy, and if you get an email lead, right, and you can't even speak or text to them, that's impossible to create a relationship. Would you all agree? But then if they start texting you, is that a little bit better? Yes, right? Isn't a text better than an email?
Yes, absolutely.
And what's better than a text, Maria?
An actual conversation on the phone or in person.
No, well, an actual conversation on the phone is the next step.
Okay.
But the highest means of communication is an in-person meeting, right?
Right, exactly.
And what happens at open houses?
At open houses, you are actually starting to engage immediately as they come into the house after you greet them. You
meet them in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And I don't know, I don't have my list with me here, but we had Miguel. Miguel is not on. Is he, Julio? So when I was door knocking in 92-degree weather yesterday for about 6 hours with the group, they pushed me, and I know it was raining up in New Jersey, so you don't feel bad for me, but we got towards the end of the day, and I was speaking to a renter, and Miguel is he's a handsome young guy, very well spoken. When we found out he was a renter, he was like starting to walk away. I kind of gave him a little elbow in the side there, and we built the conversation a little bit. And they moved in October, moved from England, and they loved where they were staying, and they were interested in buying a property. And I said, hey, do you mind if I get your phone number? And Julio, you can verify and call me out next week if it's not 100% true. She says, well, my husband handles that. So I'm like, hey, can I get your husband's phone number? We gave him Miguel's card. Can I get your husband's phone number so that when he calls, I recognize that it's not my auto warranty is expired or a similar spam call. She's like, I hate that. So she had her daughter go in and get her phone and look up her husband's cell phone number, I guess because she has an auto dial, and she gave me the phone number there. So again, I am perfect at using my I hate spam. Can you give me the number so I know to answer your call trick? And it's not really a trick, but it's true. So these in-person meetings at an open house are irreplaceable opportunities to create rapport and trust. And if all you're doing is showing them the house, then you're missing the boat. Or all you're doing is trying to capture their phone number when you're going to actually downgrade the relationship. That's a mistake.
Rob,
It is.
Rob, when I did open houses when I was an agent, I would say a good 75–80% of my business came from open houses, especially listings. So the way you do an open house, the way you greet people, the way you engage, that is where you're going to start mining your gold.
Yep. I mean, the concept of, inviting the neighbors over to build relationships, it's just amazing. And even if they're not, the neighbor comes by, even if they're not buying, they might know somebody else. As a matter of fact, Julio, there was a second example of one where, and this was all with Miguel, where we were speaking to this lady down at the end of the cul-de-sac, and she's like, we love her place, I can't see myself moving for at least 10 years. I don't know anybody moving. right? I'm like, oh, that's great. She's like, she goes, Miguel, my son and his 3 children are living in the house here. Could you help him buy a house? And she goes, no offense to you, sir, looking at me, but I think, Miguel is probably around the same age as my son. They'd probably work well together. So, anyway, those personal relationships, okay, we need to recognize the value that are there when you meet somebody in person, okay, and not take it for granted. Or when you are looking to get their phone number and call them back, okay, I call that downgrading the interaction, because you have to build the relationship, follow up with the phone call. You can't just have your goal be, let me get their phone number and then build the relationship. Does anybody ever try to do it like that? Like, hey, I got their email and phone number, then you call them up and they don't answer. Come on, you've all done it. Don't kid me, right? You've done it. Now let's invest a little bit more time up front in building in that value, and then have that conversation be one that's backed by value beforehand. These are systems that we need to put into place. These are I guess these are more systems, but geographic farming, open houses, incorporating video. Incorporating video kind of plays into the conversation I just had with Maria, like meeting somebody in person. Maybe between a phone call and meeting them in person would be a bomb video, right? Because then at least they're seeing your expressions.
Rob, I have one thing about open houses. What I've been doing, not during this virus, but if my open house is from 2 to 4, I invite the neighbors from 1:30 to 2. And I don't ask them for where they live. I don't ask them for their email. I let them say, you roam around. If you have any questions, give me a call. So they feel special because they get to go before everybody else, and you don't ask them anything. And if they're interested or know someone, they'll come to you.
Mm-hmm.
So Rob, with everything that we're doing in the company, one of the things I am revising on my 12-hour drive to South Carolina on Sunday is my open house workshop. It is 2 hours. It is extremely informative. So I invite everyone when I get back. Deb and I will talk about this. I believe in open houses, and it's the open houses that will really, really jumpstart your career there's a proper way of doing an open house that it becomes very effective.
Rob, I've always told my associates when they do an open house to buy small plants, and you go knock on the doors on either side of the house and across the street, and you tell the people that you're having an open house, and people may be parking in front of their house, and you just wanted to let them know so they're not worried they're strangers, and you want to give them the plant as a thank you.
That's awesome, Colleen.
That's brilliant. So you're using the law of reciprocity, right? Giving them something, you'll get something back. You can even invite them to come there an hour before to build upon that relationship. And I don't know, how much of an investment is a plant, Colleen, that you're giving out?
Well, I tell the agents to go to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy a whole tray, and you take the little plants and you wrap it with wrapping paper around the bottom, put a little bow on it, and there you go. So probably $8.99, $10, you get a dozen of them.
I mean, you probably could also in the spring give them out a few packages of seeds too, right?
Perfect, yes.
Easier than having to carry plants around.
Yeah, you can get the seeds that say forget me not with all your information on it.
So Julio, what was one of the ideas that we came up with yesterday in terms of handouts? Do you remember? You're on mute, Julio. Let me unmute you, Julio. I'll do it on my end here. I don't know. I can't hear. Unmute. All right, you're unmuted now, Julio. That was difficult. What was one of the things that we discovered that we think would be a good theory?
It was a dog biscuit.
Ah,
I am not kidding. It seemed like every single house we knocked at, and it had to be more than 90%, had like, this doormat in the front, dogs welcome, people tolerated. I saw that a lot. And so many dogs. And every time somebody opened up the door, a dog ran out and I had to pet it. Thank God none of them were vicious. And I was just like, you know what? What would it be if instead of a door hanger, if we had like a dog biscuit, little baggie with a dog biscuit with a Remax biscuit? I'm telling you, it can't cost you that much, and we would have been a hero, right?
Correct.
hey, Rob, every house that Ed goes in, he has a huge box of dog biscuits in his truck. And he gives dog biscuits to all the the dogs that he goes in the house with, and the customer is absolutely thrilled.
Just make sure he changes that before the ride to Carolina.
Maria, some interest in the workshop in the chat, so you'll have to say how you're going to do that.
Yep. All righty. Don't worry. We'll get everybody. It's going to be company wide.
So I mean, are we starting to feel like listing can be a habit, right? And that it's a good thing. Okay, it's not a contrived thing. If you get a listing and you don't invite the neighbors, right? Like Rana did, where she goes and talks to the neighbors, or Colleen said you drop off some plants or seeds or whatever. I think certainly in Coral Springs, dog biscuits would be better than seeds. And it would be like, hey, I just want to drop off a dog biscuit. They'd be like, no, I have 3 dogs. Okay, here's 3 of them. You know what I mean? Like that's where, maybe it's the pandemic. Everybody got a dog, but let's do some stuff differently. If we get a listing, let's not look at it as, hey, I sold Deb Hagermeister's house. I made $12,000. Let's look at it as I sold Deb's house. I'm going to get Deb as my megaphone, okay, to promote me. And while I have that listing, I'm going to go knock on all the neighbors' doors and try to use that as a way to build my farm area, build my local dominance.
So, Rob, if you were the seller, this is what I have done and I promote doing. Hey, Rob, we're planning the open houses, but I want to do a special open house just for your neighbors. May I do so with your permission?
Yeah, I mean, like.
So great, because I'm planning on a Friday night from 5 to 8, just inviting your neighbors.
I mean, Maria, you could even one up that and say, hey, I want to invite your neighbors over for a farewell celebration.
Yep. And you can have refreshments there. I think it's awesome. And these are out of the box things that you can do. Set yourself apart from everybody else. Do things differently.
Right. And again, let's put things into perspective. Okay. I absolutely love working with all of you. I appreciate it. And if you get a Zillow buyer or seller, I see 2, 3, 4, 5, $10,000 referral checks coming into the company. And trust me, that money does not stay in the company. That money's already spent to pay, Ryan Town and his new Robert Sachs, the new Zillow rep. Okay. But these other opportunities to get business have no cost to it. There's no referral fee. Okay. You don't have to pay a Zillow bill. Okay. You can repurpose some of that budget to invest in the people instead of investing where everybody else is competing against you. Okay. I'm not saying that I'm going to take that away, but let's take some business that doesn't cost us so much. Okay. And that feels better too, right? It feels better when a neighbor's saying, hey, my neighbor 10 doors down is going to be selling in 4 months, right? And we're getting to the point where, school is ending. And I think the most listing agreements are signed the day after graduation or the day after school ends. Think about that, right? People are planning on getting their home ready to go on the market. And as soon as they get their kids to graduate from high school, they're like, now it's time for me to go to the next phase, right? I did it. We got the kids through high school. They're already accepted in college. Let me get the house on the market.
Rob, sorry to interrupt. In a market like Bergen County where things sell basically within a few days, would you delay showings just to have the opportunity to do an open house, or would you just let it go right away?
I would do one
Every time.
every time, no matter what. Even if you're an attorney review, you do an open house.
So you would not delay the showings, though? You would? Because I don't like agents that only show, like, the first showing is at the open house, and me as a realtor have to stand online now for an hour to show a house doing an open house.
So I'm going to defer that to some of our practitioners. Let me.
Rob, I do a lot of pushing people to the open house because I want that mentality. I want them to see each other and bid it up. But what I tell agents who make requests often is come around to the back door and I'll bring you into the house and you can show your clients as long as you stay on a different floor. Give them almost like a privilege so they don't have to wait in line, but also it keeps that mentality because my job is to get that person the most money, right?
Right.
And then hopefully when you let that agent in the back door, make them feel special when they have their listing, Glenn, they're going to reciprocate.
Right. Right.
It is very crazy up here in Bergen County. I mean, especially in a lower price range and even the upper price range. But I just wanted to comment the thing about the plants and, dropping them off the neighbors. It even kind of ties in with New Jersey Realtors has a plant roots with a realtor campaign out there. So it kind of reinforces, what the theory of that is. And I think it's a great idea.
So, Fran, thank you for that input. And for everybody who's not in Bergen County, I think the rest of the state and all the way down to Florida is pretty much in the same boat, Fran. And this market is eventually going to shift. And if we're learning based and we're in the thick of it, none of us should be concerned. Okay. Because this market has particular challenges. On the surface, it would seem like it's a great time to get a real estate license, wouldn't it?
But we have a lot of people getting licensed now. A lot.
So Fran, with all these agents with all these individuals getting licensed, right? What do most new agents do? They work with buyers or they get listings right away?
They work with buyers.
They work with buyers, and that's probably the most difficult part of this market, right? How do you get offers accepted? So the industry is going to cull itself again, and people will be, naturally taken out of the business. Okay. Yes. But when the market shifts, not if, when the market shifts, I for one, I am not concerned. Okay. We have probably a substantial piece of our whole entire organization that gets up on a Friday, defers doing other things to collaborate with your peers and get some fresh ideas on how to stay more relevant and do a better job serving our buyers and sellers. And I don't know if any of the managers have gotten any emails yet, but I want to 5 minutes at next meeting. Hopefully I'll have solved some problems for buyers because I've been working with, the few people that have come to me and it usually works out. Okay. If somebody wants to buy and you have the right strategy, you will get them there. Okay. And Fran, it's difficult. It's difficult, but there's definitely a pathway. And go ahead.
I think one of the most important things about this business, because I've been doing this for 28 years myself, is that, my business, 97% of it came from my sphere of influence. And, that changes over the years because you have people whose daughter-in-laws now have their real estate license and stuff. So I almost feel like you have to be like Madonna. You have to be able to reinvent yourself and change things that you're doing to get the attraction and ask for the business. Asking for the business, I feel, is the most important thing.
Rob, I'm leaving. I just want to tell everybody, I have my email in the chat. Reach out to me. Rob, I gotta go. Talk to you later, guys. Good luck.
Bye-bye. So Fran, you know, instead of asking for the business, and I appreciate that concept, but like maybe sharing with the consumer in the beginning, you know, how you'd like this relationship to work, because I think it's good for everybody. And it would be like, Fran, if all I did was sell you a house and I never see you again, I would be deeply disappointed in the service I provided. So I want to make sure that we have an open communication, and I want to have permission to be 100% honest with you. You know, on a scale of 1 to 10, do I have permission to be a 10 in terms of honesty? Right? Like if you can build that type of a rapport and say, hey, you know, and if there's something that I'm missing that I've neglected in our relationship, you know, can I ask that you call me out on it? You know, I'd like to think I don't make many mistakes, but if I do, can you just let me know? Right? If you have that conversation up front, isn't that going to change the whole tone of the relationship?
Yeah, I think so.
But yet, have any of us had that conversation saying, hey, you know, if I ever make a mistake, can you just call me out on it? And my goal is to make sure that, you know, I exceed your expectation, and, you know, there's no guarantee, but I'm going to do everything I can to help you get into the right house as soon as possible. Like, how could that not come across well? Did anybody actually explain, like, how, hey, after the sale, our relationship doesn't end? Like, that should be part of the first conversation.
Yeah.
Glenn, do you use that dialogue?
Every time. And I also, I set expectations at the first meeting that they're going to give me a 5-star review. So I say to them, you know, I'm working from this point forward to make sure that you give me a 5-star review. And so far, I don't have any clients except for one that I did not ask for the review because I did not like them, because they weren't good people. But otherwise, every single one's been a review, right? So you set the expectation up front, and you just keep reminding them throughout. And I'll say to them as we're walking through a house, what do you think so far? Are we talking 5 stars? Am I still 5 stars? I kid with them.
I'd say, what do I need to do to get 6?
Yeah.
So are you guys starting to feel the concept that's going to make listing a habit that's not that much harder? Like, the concept is, if you've done 9 listings last year, right, that I don't expect you to work twice as hard to get 18. I expect you to work smarter. Are you feeling it? Is it coming across? Hey, Jay, did you confirm that appointment for Saturday? Jay, you're on mute.
Firm what appointment for Saturday?
I door knocked with Rob yesterday and got an appointment for Saturday at 5 p.m. I'm calling him today.
And what's the value range of that property?
Value range of that property is 446 to 513.
And Jay, how long you been in the business?
Newly licensed. So.
And how long did you go door knocking?
It was like an hour that we did door knocking together.
All right. Anyway, Jay, thanks for sharing. Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
That's okay.
But so we're making this way more difficult than we need as an industry. And if we just focus on doing the right thing, relationships, we're gonna have an abundant listing habit here. Okay. And you know, we're getting to 4 minutes away. I feel like these things go like this is like an hour that goes super fast. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. If you don't like it, it feels like it's 3 hours, you can private message me. But if you love it, you know, I just feel like it goes so quick. So yeah. Ellen?
Yeah.
Were you saying something?
Sorry, no, I'm listening, but I'm trying to get my dog to come with me for a walk because we're almost done.
Okay.
Sorry.
Hey, Rob, I have one thing that's interesting to share. So, you know, when people get psyched out about making calls or going out and meeting all the neighbors, I try to leverage time. So if I'm doing an open house, I just get all the neighbors' emails and phone numbers. And what I'll do is I'll do a generic video for them. When I say generic, it sounds like it's for them, but I'll hold up, like you can see now on my screen, I'll hold up my phone and it's like, hey neighbor. And then I'll put it down. I'll go, hey, I want to let you know I'm privately inviting you to an open house at 1 o'clock today. The rest of the public's coming at 2, and I got a special surprise for you. Hope to see you there. And I'll send that out to the entire neighborhood that surrounds them. And the feedback that you get is pretty phenomenal. But I'm not doing it to necessarily promote the open house, right? I'm promoting myself as the person in the neighborhood. But you could use that for any cold call as well. So I hate cold calls just like everybody else does. But if I send you a video, in my head, I think that I've already talked to you and you've seen my face. So when I say, I'm going to call you in 2 hours, I'm just sending this video to say hi and put a face to the name. Then when you call, all of a sudden you have a relationship in some way and it makes a neurological connection. So.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's great. And you guys, as a group, you know, push me to be better. And I hope I'm earning 5 stars with you. And if not, you know, I'll keep trying my best to make it a little bit easier. But, you know, Julio, you know, thanks for inviting me to go door knocking with your group. The proof in the pudding is if you keep that rolling. I would, you know, I also had another idea, which is, you know, as a, maybe at an office level, if you see some of your peers here, maybe instead of just coming here, getting some ideas and hopefully you find some good ones, maybe we have a office level or a regional, like a Morris County group, that Bergen County group, that get together on Monday and talk about, hey, how are we going to take action with some of these steps here and even improve, you know, the foundation that we're putting down. Okay. So, you know, that would be a thought I have, because we get great ideas. It's like going to Tony Robbins. I go there for a week, I come back and my desk is full of stuff like this. I can't implement anything.
Right.
So if there's a way that, you know, maybe it's a half-hour meeting that, you know, Anthony, you set up with everybody in Bergen County, you get together and you say, hey, how can we implement some stuff that we heard? And maybe there's somebody in the group that would come back to me and say, hey, Rob, this is a challenge that we have. Maybe you can address it to everybody, because I'm here to serve you guys. I don't sell any houses. I just try to help you sell more and make, you know, have a better quality of life.
That sounds good.
I'm going to just do a little note. We had 55 people that were at the wealth webinar. That was on Tuesday. That was about realtors investing in real estate, primarily, but it was also about, you know, maybe taking a small piece of what you make and putting it away. You know, if you ever had a W-2 paycheck, right, you learn to live off of the amount of money that you got net, right? And the taxes were held aside. And sometimes we put money into a 401k. We didn't see the money. And then all of a sudden we have a retirement account somewhere. On Tuesday, we're having another meeting about that. And I'll keep doing that until we address the issue and set the systems in place for anybody who wants that. So, you know, 55 people were there. It was exciting. I don't know if were any of you guys on that meeting? So, Heather, what do you think of it? You got to unmute yourself there.
There we go. I thought that was very interesting and looking forward to next week's meeting as well. But yes, realtors, I've been a realtor for almost 20 years. And yes, you miss your 401k, you miss your SEP IRA, you have got to do something now to prepare for the future, because there is no pension, if you will, unless you make your own.
Right. And you know, for all of us, you know, we're 1 week deeper into our real estate career than we were last week. And if we make the change sooner, you know, I hope that helps. So it is 10:31. If there's any questions, I'll stay.
Rob, I have one question. Will this be emailed out to the managers?
Will what be emailed out?
This webinar.
Yeah, they should all be sent out to the managers. If you want it, you can get it, or I can just send it out to everybody.
Thank you.
Well, Anthony, your broker's in tune with this.
Who's that? LG G710.
That's the best broker in Bergen County.
By the way, his name is Donald Flegger.
Fantastic,
disguise.
Sean. And any other last minute questions before we pop off? All right. I want everybody to have a fantastic weekend. I hope I added some value and gave you a little bit of motivation to run a better business and look at it a little differently. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for coming down from Florida.
Thanks, Rob.
My pleasure. Bye bye.